Kalala Yahweh, Boa Shimamashak Yawasha, Shemaya Shavela Yahweh Alahaya Nawa Kadabamashpaka, Shalom. May peace, serenity, and prosperity be multiplied unto you all. Asha Shabbat. Now, I hope everybody has had a blessed Shabbat. You know, we're toward the tail end of the Shabbat now as I record this, but nonetheless, it's never too late to do a lesson of edification. Now, in this little segment, because I'm not going to take too long covering this, however, I wanted to address something that I seen here on Instagram threads, right? So we have this Israelite woman by the name of Ba Yapa. And she posted, she made this post coming directly from her feelings as a woman, right? Now, I'm not even going to get into all of that. I'm just going to address her post with the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushua concerning her wishes of Israelites being on one whole accord. Now, I'm going to go ahead and read this, and then I'm going to add my commentary, and we're going to get into the breakdown of the scriptures after that. But she posts, I wish we Israelites could all be on one accord. Unfortunately, there's different denominations, just like Christianity. I've seen too many different names for Yahuwah and Yahusha. People just saying JC, still wearing crosses, still believe in the Trinity. Some say there's salvation for Gentiles. Some don't. No one does feast days on the same day. It's a lot. Okay, so this is the main reason. This is the main reason, right? This is the main reason why you women need a head. Okay? This is the main reason why you women, you Israelite women, need a head. Because your mind gets to start wandering like this because you get caught up in your feelings concerning this truth. Nothing's new under the sun. Okay? You had division amongst Israelites even when Yahushua was walking. When he was walking and preaching the word and advocating the Father's business, you still had division amongst Israelites. You had some who believed in him and some who didn't believe in him and was completely opposed against him. They were complete opposition to Yahushua. You know, and you still had some following pagan customs, like those that are pushed in the Nicolaitan doctrine that you call Christianity. You know, this is all set up methodically by Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, okay? It's all set up methodically because at the end of the day, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua knows who he has chosen. Yeah, he knows who he has chosen. And everybody else is blinded, even those of Israel. That's the pure effects of it. And, you know, I see she's one of those Yahuwah Israelites. I see she's one of those Yahuwah Israelites. Yahuwah Yahusha. That's the beginning of the problem right there. Okay? That's a bugged out name. Okay? You're not going to the earliest forms of Hebrew by calling the Father and the Son Yahusha and Yahuwah. Because if you studied the ancient Hebrew, you would know that there are no U's and there are no V's, right? Because we know where that name arrives from, right? We got the Father's name. Okay, we got the Father's name in Exodus chapter 6, verse 3, where it says his name was Jehovah. When it's written in the transliteration, Jehovah, that's Yahweh in the ancient Paleo Hebrew. When you start throwing those U's, those V's, and those O's, and those E's into the Hebrew language, you're speaking Yiddish. So Yahusha and Yahuwah is Yiddish. You're not speaking the true Hebrew. You're speaking Yiddish. You're speaking the watered down version of what they call Hebrew today. All right. But nonetheless, I'm going to pull this scripture up real quick. And we're going to get further edification of this division that this woman is speaking of. Right? So we're going to go to the book of Romans, chapter 11. Romans chapter 11, verse 7, which reads, "What then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded." Verse 8, Romans chapter 11, verse 8, "According as it is written, the Most High hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear, unto this day." Verse 9, "And Dawad saith, let their table be made a snare, and a trap, and a stumbling block, and a recompense unto them." Verse 10, "Let their eyes be darkened that they may not see, and bow down their back away." So these particular Israelites that she speak of that are going by all these different doctrines, still calling on the Greek translation and wearing crosses, they're caught in that Nicolaitan doctrine. You have something nowadays called Christian Israelites, which doesn't make sense whatsoever. It doesn't make sense whatsoever. They are bugged out. Okay, I ran into one of those Christian Israelites a few years ago with that Israel of God congregation. And this particular Israelite and his brother were trying to argue me down on the reasons why they can smoke. And then they try to justify that if somebody did cocaine, it wouldn't be going against the law because sniffing cocaine isn't written in the law. They went as far as saying that, and that's how I knew they were gone. Okay, they went as far as telling me that to justify why they can smoke weed. Okay? So a lot of those Israelites that you see wearing crosses and still calling on the Greek name, right? The Greek translation, they're bugged out. Okay? And you want to learn the Paleo Hebrew. Okay, get back into the ancient. All right. If you're going to call yourself an Israelite, study the Paleo Hebrew. Okay? Yahuwah, Yahusha, that's not their name. That is Yiddish. That is a Yiddish transliteration. It is not Hebrew. It's Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. And like I told you, Exodus 6 and 3 shows you that. Yahweh means he exists. He exists. Yahweh Shai, he exists. It's salvation. So that's how you get that. That's how you know that. And you have all these different Israelites following different days of the feast days and all that, like she's talking about, because you have men who run these congregations, okay? These camps, these congregations, these churches that are formed, which know that they're Israelites. At the end of the day, you have men running it. You have men organizing these congregations, and a lot of them put their own carnal interest within the business of the Most High. Now, as far as the feast days go, we go by the calendar of the new moon. That's how we get the feast days. But like she said, you have some congregations that do it completely opposite. Like there's one organization that considers the full moon the new moon. But we know that in the beginning it was darkness. All that was formed out of darkness. So that's how we know that the new moon, which is dark, is the actual new moon and not the full moon. Everything began in darkness. Nonetheless, let's get and you can read that in Genesis. You know, I'm not going to cover that within this lesson about what I just said about it being formed in darkness. That can be covered in Genesis, but not in this lesson. We're going to focus more on what she had to say here, right? So I gave that Romans 11 and 7 to explain why a lot of these Israelites are doing what they're doing. I mean, you have Israelites who only believe in the Old Testament, and they don't believe in Yahweh Shai. They don't believe in the Son, and they're completely bugged out, because if they actually knew anything, the law tells you about Yahweh Shai. It prophesies him. So you have a lot of bug outs, and because of that, we're gonna go to the book of Colossians. We're going to go to the book of Colossians. And many of you already know where I'm going, but it's relevant that we cover this again in this lesson. This is Colossians chapter 2, verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Hamashiach. So that's what you have that's going on with a lot of these different organizations of Israelites. Many of them are following after the tradition of men, right? Many of them are following after what their general says, what the head pastor says, etc. They're not actually, they're putting carnal matters in the mix of the Father's business, right? That's what they're doing. A lot of them are doing that. So when it comes to you Israelite women, especially if you're sincere, you got to have a head. You got to have a man that you're following in this truth, that you can learn from. And I don't know this woman. I don't follow her. I took a screenshot of this so we can cover it. I don't follow her, but she came up in my timeline and the spirit wanted me to cover it. So I can only guess if this woman has a head because she's posting stuff like this. These are conversations you should have with your head. Okay? This is a concern that you address with your head as a Hebrew woman. You don't post it all on the internet as a talking point, have all these different men and women commenting more confusion. The fact that she says it's a lot, she's getting tossed in to and fro by it. Let's get that. Let's get that in Ephesians chapter 4, verse 14. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 14. That we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness whereby they lie in wait to deceive. So that's why it's a lot with this Hebrew woman here. That's why it's a lot. Because she's seeing all that and she's getting tossed to and fro with it. You stick to the narrow way, the narrow path. Let's go here. Let's go to Romans chapter 9, verse 6. Because we know not all of Israel is actually of Israel. Some of them are wicked. A lot of them are wicked. That's why only a third is going to make it. And then 2/3 are going to get cut off and destroyed. And they're just going to have to be reincarnated in the kingdom. This is Romans chapter 9, verse 6. Not as though the word of the Most High hath taken none effect, for they are not all Israel which are of Israel. Is that simple? Is that plain? Plain and simple. Let's go to Romans chapter 10, verses 1 through 3. Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to the Most High for Israel is that they might be saved. Israel, that they might be saved. Israel. Okay? Israel. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of the Most High, but not according to knowledge. So that's what this Hebrew woman we see here is seeing. She's seeing the zeal for the Most High, but not according to knowledge. That's why she's seeing all these different walks. There's no denominations as an Israelite. You got different doctrines. All right. And a lot of those doctrines are off of confusion because it's off of zeal and not the original knowledge that is given by the Most High, as we saw in Romans 11 and 7. Verse 3. For they being ignorant of the Most High's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of the Most High. So that's why you have all of these different paths as Israelites. They have not submitted themselves to the righteousness of the Most High. And whoever she's following, they're bugged out too, because she wouldn't have this concern if she was following somebody of actual truth. But the fact that she's throwing around that Yahusha and Yahuwah, we already know that person's not of truth because they're not saying the right names. Now let's jump to John. John chapter 7, verse 38. Words of Yahweh Shah. He that believeth on me, as the scripture has said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. That rivers of living water is the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the Most High that we receive from this word. Because we know every time we go into this word, we're following Yahweh Shah. We're putting our faith in Yahweh Shah and our obedience in the Most High by following his laws, statutes, and commandments. Now, speaking of this division among Israel, we see that it was way back even with Yahweh Shah. There was always been division among Israel. They always have, even during the times of Moses in the wilderness. You had rebellious Israelites and you had Israelites who were actually doing what the Most High said, as Moses was the custodian to bring out the law, statutes, and commandments. So you always had that division amongst Israel. You won't truly see that unity until the kingdom comes. But nonetheless, let's go to John chapter 8, and we're going to be reading from verse 26 to verse 32. Make sure you write that down for your own recollection. That's what you should be doing, writing down these scriptures as we read through them. This is John chapter 8, verses 26 through 32. And it reads, I have many things to say and to judge of you, but he that sent me is true, and I speak to the world those things which I have heard of him. Verse 27, they understood not that he spake to them of the Father. And there's a reason why they understood not, because they weren't chosen. They weren't chosen. But the gospel was spread anyway. Those who get it, get it. Those who don't, they don't. Verse 28, then said Yahweh unto them, when ye have lifted up the Son of Man, then shall ye know that I am he, and that I do nothing of myself, but as my Father hath taught me, I speak these things. So that goes to all those Israelites that she mentioned of here that are still wearing crosses, still thinking that the Son is the Father, etc. He just stated that he's doing the Father's business and what the Father had taught him. So what? So what? The Father taught himself. He sat up there talking to himself and taught himself. So he didn't know and he had to teach himself. See, that's the folly it gets into. But we read it right here from the words of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach himself, that the Father taught him. And as he has been taught by the Father, Yahweh, he speaks. Verse 29, and he that sent me is with me. The Father hath not left me alone, for I do always those things that please him. As he spake these words, many believed on him. So though there was people that didn't understand, there was also them that did believe, as verse 30 pointed out. Verse 31, then said Yahweh Shah to those Jews which believed on him. So when he said that, those who didn't get it, they didn't get it, they didn't understand, they didn't believe on him. But those who did believe, they understood. They understood everything he said. This is the same dynamic that this sister here is speaking of. This Hebrew woman here that we see on the screen, this is the same dynamic we're speaking of here. So verse 31 says, then said Yahweh Shah to those Jews which believed on him, if ye continue in my word, then are ye my disciples indeed. Verse 32, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. With her saying it's a lot, she basically showing that she's struggling with all these different Israelites that are bugged out and doing this, that, and the third, not according to the truth. Well, your first problem here, Miss Bayafa, is that you're following somebody who doesn't even have the correct name. So they're bugged out themselves. You can't expect a bug out to teach you truth. Now let's go to the book of John, verse 8, 39 through 34. Salakia, 39 through 44. So the Jews that didn't believe in Yahushua had a back and forth with him. And they started off saying this. They answered and said unto him, Abraham is our father. Yahushua said unto them, if ye were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. But now ye seek to kill me, a man that had told you the truth, which I have heard of the Most High. This did not Abraham. So again, same dynamic, same division, even in the days of Yahushua HaMashiach. Verse 41, ye do the deeds of your father. Then said they to him, we be not born of fornication. We have one Father, even the Most High. Yahushua said unto them, if the Most High were your Father, ye would love me. For I proceeded forth and came from the Most High. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. So that's a major cut on all you Israelites that are believing in the Trinity, like this woman said. Like this Hebrew sister said here, you Israelites that believe in the Trinity and that are still calling him Jesus Christ and saying that he is God, that's a cut on y'all right there from the words of the Son. He said he came forth of the Son and he didn't come from himself, but was sent of the Father. Verse 43, why do ye not understand my speech, even because ye cannot hear my word? Why is that? And he gives the answer here in verse 44. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. So yeah, you have those Israelites that are completely in the world and completely given over to Shaitan. And then you have Israelites of these different doctrines that are subtly following Hashatan. Just like these Jews that were talking about they of Abraham's seed and Abraham's their father. Yahushua said, no, the Hashatan is your father. The devil is your father. So you have that running amok, disguised as religion within Israelites as well. So that's why you had that dynamic and all these different doctrines, because many of these Israelites are of Hashatan. Okay, that's the truth. That's the raw and uncut, unfiltered truth right there. You can't follow all these. You can't follow anybody just because they're saying they are Israelite. 2/3 are to be cut off and destroyed. All right, 2/3 of Israel are to be cut off and destroyed. So you wanted all this unity and wanted all the Israelites to be on one accord. No, that happens once the kingdom comes. Once Yahushua returns and get everything in order, then yeah, when we're running the kingdom, that will happen. But that's not going to happen right now. You must find the way of truth. You must pray that you're of the elect, where the Most High will give you the truth according to his kingdom wholeheartedly, and that you'll be sitting well in the kingdom as well. Now let's talk about these Israelites and the Nicolaitans and doctrine, right? We're going to go to Revelation chapter 2, starting at verse 13, ending at verse 16. It reads, I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is. And thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in those days when Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was slain among you where Shaitan dwelleth. But I have a few things against thee, because thou has them there that hold the doctrine of Balaam, which is what she's talking about here, all that confusion, who taught Balak to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificing to idols and to commit fornication. That's a lot of them Christian Israelites. You know, that's a lot of them other Israelites calling on those different names. Yeah, you got a lot of that going on. A lot of those Israelites with their congregations being connected to a 501 C3, all that. So hast thou also them that hold the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, which saying, I hate. Repent, or else I will come unto thee quickly and will fight against them with the sword of my mouth. That's all I have. May peace, serenity, and prosperity be multiplied unto you all. Shalom.